find the link, shouldn't I?
Hey, folks, it's what is this called? Tuesday?
Watch and learn Tuesdays.
That's it. Watch and learn Tuesdays. We have Crypto Cowboy and the man whose new name is now Ever
seen.
Ever obscene.
Ever sexy? What?
That's it. Nick got it. Since you're not going to get it right, we'll go with Nick.
Anyway, we'll just call him Evanescence. Is the one. The one and only Frank. All right, Evanescence.
You know, I think every time I try to get a nickname, it backfires. I'm just call me Frank.
I'm still getting over your
simple Frank. Simple Frank is better than
I'm
some
still
of the
getting
things
over your hoarder story from yesterday. You guys, I
told my brother.
Go back and listen to the first 3 minutes of yesterday's crypto show. I played it for my wife this morning. She was dying on the floor laughing.
I'll tell her the unedited version at some point. The unedited version's even worse.
It was so funny. Like
both of those stories have layers that I couldn't reveal for confidentiality reasons that I'll tell you guys in private. They go so deep, both of those stories.
Yeah, apparently they go pretty deep. About what, 12, 13 inches?
Yes, as a matter of fact. Oh my god, the things we found. The hoarder stuff is it's real, man. And it's dark. It's dark.
I had a client who was a hoarder. Like, I can't, this is too long of a story to tell, but to make it really short, like, we got to her house and she had like 8 different vacuums in different states of repair, all on the floor. And then she had like a fish tank half full of water and like 17 belts in it.
Oh my god, weird.
Yeah, it's just like this woman was nuts. I mean, I can tell you the whole story. It's a great story, but it doesn't have anything to do with like crypto or charting or anything.
Yeah, it's dark stuff, man. It's we had the clean ones where they just like have tons and tons of stuff, like they're never really clean, but then you have the ones where it's like something something you'd see in like the darkest horror movie.
No, dude, this lady that I saw, like it smelled like her dogs ate a dead rotten raccoon and then like crapped it out and did it.
Delightful.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Hey, to talk about trading, we've got a question right in the chat room here. This is actually one we get a lot, and we have to start off, of course, with a disclaimer that, you know, what we do in our room is for entertainment purposes only, and you gain some information and entertainment watching Cowboy and Z go in and out of their trades. You see what they're doing, you find out what they're thinking. But we have this question, and Cowboy, let's see if you can answer it. I get this a lot. This is, how much would I need to get started trading with crypto? And of course, I mean, the answer is any amount, virtually, to get started with trading. But I think this person probably has in mind a couple different scenarios to make money off it, to make it worthwhile to belong to a trading room, some of those kinds of things. Any thoughts on that, my man?
Batman. The answer is always Batman. You know, in all seriousness, okay, so people look at, you know, these kind of like educational services and things. I think they look at it the wrong way, where they feel they're going to get in and they're going to use that to make some money to pay for it. And that's a great way to look at it. And oftentimes it works out that way. In fact, I think, you know, Crypto Nico's last week, you know, I was out, like, you know, getting married and going on our mini moon. Our honeymoon's later, but we took a few days, you know, went down to San Diego, whatever. Right. And during that time, I wasn't there to monitor it much, but I saw a couple of trades that Nico's did that, for somebody that had, like, say, 1 Bitcoin, they made a few $100s on every trade, which is great.
That's great.
Like, massive. That's like, I don't know. I mean, over the different trades I saw, it might have been like 20 or 30%. And in a market like this is insane. So the ability to kind of like watch somebody trade and maybe learn how they're doing their research, and that can pay off immediately. It can. Now, what I did, you know, I can't make any recommendations, but what I did, I feel was like the kind of the best way to do it, at least for me, right? You got to find out what's good for you. But I started with a very small amount of money. I took like, I don't know, $50, and I put it on exchange. And, you know, I didn't know anything about trading, trading rooms back then. I traded some other stuff before that, but, you know, it was kind of a big dive into technical trading. And I simply traded that $100. And I just, you know, looked up some, you know, how to use indicators, and I did a lot of research. And had I known about, you know, this kind of thing, I would have hired a mentor sooner. But I actually spent like $1,000 on a mentor. And, you know, that was the beginning of like my real education. And I didn't have really, I still had that $100 in the market, but I spent 1,000 on a mentor, not expecting to make that 1,000 back immediately. The whole idea.
Great point. Great point.
Yeah. So the whole idea was to learn what I could learn. And then I wanted to, a lot of people say, hey, let's paper trade. And paper trade means that you go on what's called a test net. You take like, you basically fake trade. You pretend like you have, $100,000 or whatever, and then you go and trade it. And it's a great way to learn about trading. My opinion, though, is that the emotional component is not there. This is why I would take, I actually took, according to what some people told me to do, I took $100 of my hard-earned money and not really knowing much about cryptocurrency trading, and I put it on an exchange. And that way, every trade that I did actually had the emotional component that goes along with it.
Mm. Very cool.
You can start with any amount.
Here's a good follow-up question.
Sure.
And I think that's a great answer, by the way. Follow-up question from Lorraine in the chat room says, hi from the UK. Thanks for listening. What about the cost of trading? You're talking about cryptos. The cost is fairly minimal, isn't it?
If you're referring to fees.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Yeah, very low. I mean, okay, so it's relative. If you're going to trade stocks, like say if you go on E-Trade, I think it's like, I don't know, $6.95 or $7.95 a trade, whether you're trading 100,000 or 100. So, that makes it so that micro trades and things like that are not going to make you a lot of money in a sense. Cryptocurrency on the exchanges that I've seen are pretty much percentage based.
True.
So, and the way you trade can make a difference too. But I mean, to make the answer really simple, it's usually well under 1% per trade.
Yeah, and then Binance has that deal where if you hold a little bit of the BNB coin, is that the right symbol, BNB? If you hold a little bit of their BNB coin, they cut that by a significant percentage, half or 25% off or something. So I always do that. If I'm going to be actively trading, I hold a little BNB and it cuts the cost down a bit.
There are two ways to cut the cost down. And that's probably on Binance. That's, I think, the most effective way because it's a solid, I think, depending on if you're a maker or a taker, and that's an easy thing to explain, but it's like 0.75% or 0.65%. And without getting into a long it's not that technical, but to the newer traders who don't understand what a market maker and a market taker is, if you place a trade in the order book and let somebody else take your trade, you're a market maker. The exchanges want that. So they reward market makers with either lower fees or even sometimes rewards, depending on the exchange that you go to. If you're a market taker where you don't put an order on the book, you just go find an order and you fill that order. It gets you into the market quicker. You have a little more choices to exactly where you want to get in, but they're going to take higher fees. So there's all that. This is the kind of things that you learn when you hire a mentor. That's the quickest way, I think, to learn. Otherwise, just, go do some research. To answer that question though. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is actually kind of helpful stuff we're getting in the chat room. Sorry if you guys hear coughing in the background. I'm watching my little one is sick and she's my wife had to go out, so she's sitting in my office and coughing, poor little thing. You're welcome, Lorraine. And another one, and you had mentioned most of the recent trades we would go over were Z's, and he can't be here, so it's good to take these questions. So we had another question. This is another very frequently asked question from David in the chat room. Hard to know if hold Bitcoin or buy more alts. Your thoughts on it, please.
No, that's a great question. My thoughts on that, they change with the market. Right now, I haven't been making very many alt trades. I did get stopped out this morning on a very, very high risk, very low position trade on Cardano, on ADA. I told the guys in the room, hey, I'm doing a 1% money management, meaning that I didn't put 1% of my book on there. That's not what I did. I put a position size such that if I get stopped out, I lose 1%. And so basically that's what happened there. I ended up losing a tiny bit more than that. There are some adjustments I had to make. But long story short, alts are a little bit dangerous right now. With Bitcoin being as volatile as it is, then people are, once you extend into alts, it's like you're, how do I put this? It's like you're a military force and you've done the blitzkrieg and all your guys are all way out in the field. Your supply lines are way in the back and you're extremely disorganized. So, if you need all of your soldiers in one place at once, then you're going to have to call them back in, and it takes time. So, you know, a lot of people, when Bitcoin is getting crazy, they keep their money in Bitcoin and they don't really go to alts very much. So in a market that's kind of bearish, what happens is also traders are preserving profit. So they'll take a little tiny win and they'll take that profit and then they'll wait for something else. So alts right now, in my opinion, they're just a little dangerous to trade. They're tradable. You got to know what to look for. You know, there are sometimes reasons why alts fly, even during these markets. I mean, there are alts that run, a lot of it are pump and dump. So this is something that's really important, that this question, I think, really should be addressed. Pump and dump happen. They happen all the time. They happen during low volume markets. Low volume markets are when nobody wants to trade things. Right now in alts is a low volume market. Nobody wants to trade alts. I mean, they do, but what happens is these people will slowly buy into an altcoin over, like, I don't know, a week or days. I've never really done it. I know people who do, so I don't really know the full details. I think it's illegal, and I find it's immoral. But what they do is they buy slowly so that they get a good sized position without raising the price. And then what they do, this is a group of people, and then they'll fan it out to a bunch of people who think they're the first ones in the know. And they say, okay, we're going to call out a coin to do a pump and dump on this day at this time, and we're going to tell you at that day at that time. Now, that first group of people has a big position. They tell that second group of people on that day and that time, who all start buying the hell out of it. And then all of a sudden, the third group of people who just look at the charts and see this coin popping up huge, they start to FOMO in, like, oh, it's going up, let's buy it. And then the first group, they sell. The second group, if they're lucky, they can sell at a profit. But that third group that buys in at the end, they get obliterated. So watch out for those. You know, if you see a coin that just goes up really high all of a sudden, I don't really care what the reason is. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I still have stuff banging around in my Ether wallet that I got stuck in early days, where it's like, oh wow, this is the latest thing. Someone had a video about it, and oh, it's going through the roof. I better get it while it's still here. And it's like, oh man, you just get killed, and it never comes back. Some of these little coins get pumped. They have no liquidity, and you just get stuck.
Yeah, I mean, it's at that point, you know, look, I have a ledger that has a handful of Hail Marys. I bought them when they were low. They're even lower now, unfortunately, but I still bought them at a great price. And, you know, they're just coins that I think will maybe eventually do well one day based on who's on the project, things like that. And, you know, even in the next kind of bull market, some of the crap coins are going to fly at some point. Mm-hmm. It's not a bad idea at this point to hold on to them, or not. I mean, it's just, that's a trading strategy, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, some good questions. And let me see if there's any more questions in there. And then we could take a look. Yeah, no, some good questions. Some comments, I'm not sure what they mean. All right, cool. Yeah, thanks for helping everybody. Let's take a look at the big one, BTC. I see you've already got a chart up for us. Any thoughts on this today? You had some great analysis yesterday. It was very helpful.
Yeah. We actually, there's another trader out there who found what's called a Gartley, and that's an advanced pattern formation. And I actually charted it yesterday. And it's Bitcoin right now is doing a couple of things that warrant review. What is kind of the most prominent looking is this sort of a bear flag. So essentially, a bear flag is where it kind of has been falling. It still wants to fall. It's going to fall further, but it hits a consolidation. For example, there's a small example right here of a bear flag and of what happens, right?
Yeah, man.
So now we have
what a brutal chart right there. Whew.
Yeah, but I could take you to 3 charts that look just like what we're looking at today, and you see a massive bull run.
Cool.
So it doesn't mean that it's going to go like that. We just have indications that it could, right? We talked a bit yesterday, so without getting into like the 28 different charts, a lot of people think the bottom is around 3,000. A lot of people think it's just below that, and we're at 39 right now. So if in fact those were the bottoms, then we have a little room to go down. We did make it down already to 34.60 on the Coinbase price. So that's pretty significant. I mean, there is always the chance that we could go up from here. There's always the chance we go down to $20 a Bitcoin. I mean, anything can happen. So we don't want to get too hung up on chances. What I do is I look at the shorter terms. I'm a trader. I'm not really an investor type. I actually like to trade actively on the market. And just full disclosure, I got out of Bitcoin at 6,400. I did a chart 11 days before the dump saying that it would dump. And it dumped harder than I thought. I actually got back in briefly around 5,800, and I had some stops set, and the price fell right through those, and I lost a very small amount of my book. And now I've just been gaining Bitcoin as the price plummets because I'm stuck in, not stuck, but I'm positioned in
sitting in.
In True USD. Stuck is a great place to be in True USD right now. So,
and this is real obvious, but I want to just say this: what Cowboy's describing is something very cool, and that is you have this value in Bitcoin, you get out at that value, and what you watch in your trading account, for those of you who don't trade, he's sitting in TUSD in, say, his Binance account. I'm just giving a hypothetical, but this sounds very close to what's actually happening. And you can see on the side there that it's measuring how much Bitcoin you could buy with that amount of money at any moment. And so when you get out at a high and the price keeps going down, your Satoshi level goes up and up and up. Satoshi being the amount of Bitcoin you could afford to buy at that moment. So let's say you got out at 1 Bitcoin and it keeps going down. Now you're at 1.2. Now you're at 1.3. Now you're at 1.5. And when you choose to get back in, now you had more Bitcoin than you did before. The price comes back up, and now you have more value than you did before. And so that's one of the key ways that money is made in a bear market. I always cringe when someone tells me, "Hey, I'm going to come back to the room when the bear market's over." Oh boy, don't do that. I don't like to argue with people, but it always makes me cringe when someone says, "Oh, I'm going to come back when the bear market comes." Well, man, first of all, there's opportunities in the bear market. Second, you're gonna lose out on gaining those Satoshis in the meantime.
Oh yeah, and of course, the way to look at that too is from an entertainment standpoint, because this is just entertainment.
Of course.
The way to look at that is when in crypto, I mean, we could just back up and take a look at the length time-wise of bear markets, and that's a great thing to look at right now because it doesn't take very long to look at. But if you take a look at this on the daily chart, you have a dip that, like, this is a great dip. This small dip right here that I'm going to kind of blow up here for everybody to see. Two of the notable dips in Bitcoin. This one was one of the record-breaking dip. It went from 8,500 and went kind of down to the 7,800 and all that. No, it fell. And let me see. The real fall started on, say, July 29, and it bottomed. It bottomed on August 14th. You're looking at a 2-week period, and that was a heavy fall. We were out. We got out. Way not up the top. We're not we're not fortune tellers, but we saw the signs and got out. Probably a little around here, around this 77. I can't remember. I've got it on record somewhere. But we got out by making profit, and then we didn't get back. Well, actually, Z got back in right at, I think, like 59 or 6,000.
Yeah, I remember it being like just shy of perfect.
Yeah, Z does. Yeah. Z's really good at calling bottoms. So it went from that kind of 6,000 range all the way up to, say, 7,400. You're looking at 14, so that's roughly, I don't know, 25% or something. I mean, my math is a little funky on that, but that's like a 25% gain. Now, the people who got out, all of a sudden, people usually get out like halfway through the big dump. Screw this, I'm canceling. And then they have another 2 weeks or 1 week and left in the room, and they're really not being entertained because the price is dumping. And right about the time they leave is right here at the bottom.
Yeah.
Even in a longer fall that happened in May, we actually were making opportunities and making wins on the way down on this one. But, so there was entertainment on the way down on these longer big falls. But even these falls like this went from, from May to June, about a month, right? About like a month and a half, like almost, that's a fair amount of time. But there were opportunities on the way down. These larger falls always have relief legs, and we can kind of tell when they're going to happen. So we find, and there's always reasons to buy this coin or buy that coin. There's always fundamentals that really just the market ignores, or that ignore the market in general. I know during that time, Z made some major calls. Z's our fundamentalist guy. He's really good at finding coins that are going to go up no matter what, because so-and-so says this about it, or, this company bought this or whatever. So, we're making wins all the way down anyway. But of course, the wins are going to be so many more on the way up. But by the time people get out, which is around like here, because they leave the room when it gets to like here, another week or two goes by, their subscription ends, and they're down here. Well, shoot, if they'd have held on another 5 days, they'd be ready to be at the bottom and on the way up. So the room is so much more entertaining if you stick around.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we need to wrap it up and get on a couple other things. Any last thoughts you want to give us on the BTC or what we're looking at this week before we say goodbye for today?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we have a little bullish structure. It's called the Gartley, and it completed a few days ago, and yesterday actually. It's been going up. We do have some issues right now. It seems that the market makers are playing around with the price, which is like an always thing. But they're doing the BART heads again. Yeah. So we were expecting a little bit higher of a rise. It went pretty close to my second target. It went right up to my first target and stopped right there. And then, the second target was a little bit higher on the Coinbase price. But anyway, we're seeing the market makers kind of playing games. Now, the BART heads are something with which I'm familiar. I thought they were gone.
That's your bag, man. That's your thing.
Yeah, that's kind of charting the BART heads is kind of my thing. So, very entertaining. Frank, tell everybody where we can see the entertainment.
WatchUsTrade.io. Head over there, WatchUsTrade.io. Also, if you're not listening there already, please subscribe to our new YouTube channel we'll be moving to soon, which is in the link in the description. It's our official Watch Us Trade YouTube channel, and we repost all these videos there. And pretty soon we're going to be broadcasting from there. So please subscribe, like those videos. We would love to move over to that as soon as we can.
Join us or die.
That's it. Do you feel do you feel entertained?
So you think you can do my impersonation of me?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I stepped on your perfect impersonation.
Join us, for you are initiated, are you not?
Oh, it's okay.
Or, if you leave the room, you just have to imagine the bull market.
You speak of the devil, and it shall appear. There's an alert here on your screen. Okay, thank you all. I am Bane. Goodbye.
It's